Admiral Kreenox stood before the towering crystalline podium, his 6 eyes scanning the assembled Zephyrian High Command. The council chamber buzzed with the low hum of translation devices, processing the worried chittering of a dozen different species. Oh, how the mighty had gathered today. Representatives from across 3 spiral arms, all because of one tiny, insignificant blue planet. Honored members, Kreenox began, his voice carrying the weight of someone who had never lost a battle. We face an unprecedented situation. The species known as humans have officially been classified as a Class 7 threat to galactic peace. A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. Class 7. The same classification reserved for rogue AI networks and reality-warping parasites. Counselor Thexera's tentacles writhed in disbelief. Admiral, surely you jest? These creatures still use combustion engines. They have not even mastered faster-than-light travel. Kreenox's mandibles clicked in what passed for a grim smile among his species. Ah, but that is precisely the problem, Counselor. In the past 50 rotations, they have expanded from 1 system to 17, without proper FTL technology. Do you know what they are using? He paused for effect. Generation ships. Massive, lumbering metal coffins that take centuries to reach their destinations. And somehow they are still beating us to the good planets. The chamber erupted in indignant buzzing and chittering. How dare these primitives? Commander Zeltok slammed his claw against his desk. This is preposterous. We have guided evolution across 1,000 worlds. We have technologies these humans cannot even comprehend. Exactly my point, Kreenox continued, his voice dripping with sarcasm, which is why the High Command has authorized the deployment of the Crimson Armada. 10,000 ships. 10,000. Against a species that thinks antimatter is something you find in science fiction novels. The War Minister, General Kylex, leaned forward eagerly. How long do you estimate this campaign will last, Admiral? Kreenox consulted his holographic display, pretending to consider the question seriously. Well, factoring in travel time to their system, the time needed to demand their surrender, and perhaps an hour or 2 to clean up any resistance, he paused, milking the moment. I would say we should be back in time for the Harvest Festival. Maybe even early enough to catch the opening ceremonies. Laughter rippled through the chamber. Oh, how they would show these upstart humans their place in the galactic order. After all, what could possibly go wrong? 3 weeks later, Captain Vorthak stood on the command deck of the flagship Stellar Devastator, watching the greatest armada in galactic history assemble before him. 10,000 warships stretched across the void like a metallic constellation, each one representing the pinnacle of their respective civilization's military might. Well, this was going to be easier than conquering a nursery planet. Captain, his communications officer, Lieutenant QX Lon, reported with barely contained excitement. The Krillian battle group has just arrived. 500 ships strong, all equipped with quantum disruptors. Vorthak's 4 eyes gleamed with satisfaction. Excellent. And the Nexari contingent? 2,000 vessels, sir. Their bioships are particularly impressive. The lieutenant paused, consulting his readouts. Oh, and the Bolvan Empire has contributed 1,500 heavy cruisers, each one capable of glassing a continent. Wonderful, wonderful. Vorthak rubbed his claws together gleefully. And what does our intelligence department tell us about these fearsome humans and their terrifying technology? Chief Intelligence Officer Drax Ull floated forward, his tentacles quivering with what could only be described as suppressed laughter. Sir, you are going to find this absolutely hilarious. Their most advanced spacecraft are powered by controlled explosions. The bridge crew burst into chittering laughter. Controlled explosions. How delightfully primitive. But wait, there is more. Drax Ull continued, clearly enjoying himself. They propel these metal tubes through space by shooting fire out of one end. Fire, Captain, as if they are still living in caves. Commander Yilex Ka, a proud Krillian warrior, shook her armored head in disbelief. Do they at least have energy shields? Particle beam weapons? Anything resembling modern warfare? Oh, this is the best part, Draxul said, his voice dripping with mockery. Their most powerful weapons involve hurling chunks of metal at each other. Very, very fast chunks of metal, mind you, but still chunks of metal. The entire bridge crew was now in stitches. Captain Vorthak wiped tears from his eyes with a spare tentacle. My ancestors, what have we gotten ourselves into? This is not a military campaign, this is pest control. Sir, the navigation officer called out, all ships report ready for hyperspace jump. Shall I give the order? Vorthak straightened his ceremonial combat armor and activated the fleet-wide communication system. His voice boomed across 10,000 ships, reaching every species, every warrior, every being who had volunteered for this glorious well. Calling it a battle would be insulting to actual battles. Warriors of the Crimson Armada. Today we sail to bring order to a wayward species. Today we show the galaxy that primitive aggression will not be tolerated. Today we go swat some flies. The roar of approval that echoed back through the communication channels could probably be heard 3 systems away. 10,000 ships engaged their hyperspace drives simultaneously, tearing holes in reality itself as they departed for Earth. Behind them, space slowly healed itself, leaving only the fading echoes of their arrogance. The Crimson Armada dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system with all the subtlety of a supernova. 10,000 warships arranged themselves in perfect formation, their combined mass creating gravitational distortions that made nearby asteroids wobble nervously. Captain Vorthak stood proudly on his bridge, admiring the tactical display that showed their overwhelming superiority. Magnificent, he declared, watching the sensor readings. Look at this pathetic system. 1 star, a handful of rocks, and that little blue marble they call home. Communications, open a channel to the 3rd planet. Let us see how quickly they grovel. Lieutenant QX Lawn worked his console with practiced efficiency. The channel open, sir. Broadcasting on all frequencies. Shall I begin with the standard surrender demands? Of course. But make it theatrical. We want them to understand the hopelessness of their situation. Vorthak cleared his throat and assumed his most intimidating posture. Inhabitants of the planet Earth. You are surrounded by the combined might of 10,000 warships representing the greatest military alliance in galactic history. You have been deemed a threat to galactic peace and order. Surrender immediately and submit to relocation, or face the consequences of your primitive aggression. They waited. The bridge fell silent except for the gentle hum of life support systems. Surely any moment now, the terrified humans would begin transmitting their unconditional surrender. Any moment now. Sir, QX Lon said hesitantly, we are receiving a response. Excellent. Put it on the main screen. Let us see their leaders beg for mercy. The view screen flickered to life, and Captain Vorthak found himself staring at a small, furry creature with large eyes, sitting in what appeared to be a cardboard container. Text appeared at the bottom, Icon has cheeseburger? The bridge crew exchanged bewildered glances. What is this? Vorthak stammered. More images followed. Furry creatures in various poses, some with text overlays that made no sense whatsoever. Ceiling cat is watching you. If I fits, I sits. A particularly disturbing one showed a feline creature with an expression that could only be described as malevolent, captioned soon. Sir, the communications officer said weakly, I believe they are sending us pictures of their domesticated predators. Are they mocking us? Commander Ylex K snarled, her combat suit's weapons systems powering up instinctively. The transmission continued. Now they were being shown what appeared to be a human performing some sort of ritual dance while saying, never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you repeatedly. The melody was actually quite catchy, though Vorthak would never admit it. This is intolerable, he roared. Are they surrendering or not? Sir, QX Lawn reported, his voice cracking slightly, we are now receiving what appears to be their official government response. Finally, some sense. The screen filled with more small furry creatures, but these were engaged in activities that defied logic. One was playing what appeared to be a miniature piano. Another was somehow suspended in mid-air, paws outstretched, with the caption "Dramatic Hamster." A third showed a cat that seemed to be perpetually falling through space, accompanied by a rainbow trail and strange symbols. What in the name of the void are we looking at? Admiral Kreenox's voice crackled through the communications system. He had been monitoring from the command ship, and his patience was wearing thin. I honestly do not know, sir," Vorthak replied. "They appear to be showing us their pets engaged in recreational activities. The humans were not done. Oh no, they were just getting started. Now they were broadcasting what could only be described as audio torture, sounds that made the universal translator give up and display error messages, voices that seemed to think volume was a substitute for talent. Something called Rebecca Black made several Krillian warriors request immediate medical attention. "Turn it off," someone screamed. "Turn it off before it damages our neural pathways permanently." But the humans were relentless. They followed up with something called the Macarena, which caused mass confusion as several species warriors began involuntarily moving their appendages in synchronized patterns. "Sir," Chief Intelligence Officer Draxuel whispered, his tentacles trembling, I think they are trying to drive us insane." Captain Vorthak stared at the view screen, where a human was now explaining something about double rainbows with an enthusiasm that bordered on religious fervor. "This is not how first contact is supposed to go," he muttered. "Where are their leaders? Where are their surrender terms? Where is their desperate plea for mercy? Instead, they got more cats. Always more cats. After 6 hours of what could only be described as psychological warfare through terrible entertainment, the humans finally seemed to come to their senses. Captain Vorthak watched with relief as his sensors detected massive fleet movements around Earth. "Finally," he exclaimed, his mandibles clicking with satisfaction. "They are launching their pathetic ships. Prepare for combat, but remember, we want some survivors to interrogate about their bizarre behavior." Lieutenant QX-Lon's eyes widened as he studied the tactical display. "Sir, their entire fleet appears to be running away. They are heading directly for their asteroid belt at maximum velocity." Vorthak's 4 eyes gleamed with predatory satisfaction. "Oh, of course they are. When faced with superior firepower, even the most deranged species will attempt to flee. How wonderfully predictable. All ships pursue and destroy." The Crimson Armada surged forward like a metallic tide, 10,000 warships converging on the retreating human vessels. Admiral Kreenox's voice boomed across the fleet channels, "Do not let a single ship escape. We shall end this farce once and for all." As they entered the asteroid belt, Commander Yilex Ka frowned at her sensor readings. "Captain, something is strange about these asteroid formations. They are far too organized." Vorthak barely glanced at her display. "Nonsense. It is simply a natural asteroid field. These humans are probably hoping to hide among the rocks like scared rodents. Continue pursuit." The human ships dove deeper into the belt, weaving between massive chunks of rock with an ease that bordered on reckless. The alien fleet followed, their superior technology allowing them to navigate the field without difficulty. This was going to be easier than hunting space whales. "Sir," the navigation officer called out nervously, "these asteroids, they are moving." "Of course they are moving," Vorthak snapped. "Asteroids do that. Orbital mechanics, you fool." "No, sir, they are moving in formation." Every eye on the bridge turned to the tactical display, and what they saw defied every law of physics they knew. The asteroids were indeed moving, but not in natural patterns. They were shifting, rotating, repositioning themselves with mechanical precision. Massive chunks of rock, some the size of small moons, were gliding through space as if controlled by invisible puppet strings. "That is impossible," Draxuel whispered, his tentacles going pale. "Asteroids do not move like that. They cannot move like that." Suddenly, the largest asteroid directly ahead of them cracked open like an egg. No, not cracked, opened. Massive sections of rock folded away to reveal gleaming metal structures beneath. The weapon emplacements, docking bays, communication arrays. The entire asteroid had been hollowed out and converted into a fortress. By the void. Vorthak gasped. How long have they been working on this? His question was answered when dozens more asteroids began opening like deadly flowers. Each one revealed human constructions. Some were weapons platforms, others appeared to be manufacturing facilities, and a few looked suspiciously like massive engines attached to the rock itself. Sensors are picking up massive energy signatures. The tactical officer screamed. They have been building inside these rocks for months, maybe years. The first human weapons opened fire, and they were nothing like the primitive projectile weapons the intelligence reports had described. Beams of coherent energy lanced out from hidden emplacements, striking alien ships with devastating precision. But that was not the worst part. Oh no, the worst part was what happened next. The asteroid started moving with purpose and evasive maneuvers. Vorthak bellowed, but it was too late. The humans had turned the entire asteroid belt into a three-dimensional minefield, and now they were controlling it like a master musician conducting a symphony of destruction. Massive rocks began accelerating toward alien formations, guided by hidden engines and thruster systems. What the sensors had initially dismissed as natural debris were revealed to be kinetic weapons of enormous size. A Krillian battlecruiser tried to dodge what appeared to be a small asteroid, only to discover it was equipped with maneuvering thrusters and was actively pursuing them. This is impossible. Admiral Kreenox's voice crackled with panic over the communications. How do you turn an entire asteroid belt into a weapon system? The answer came in the form of a human transmission broadcast across all frequencies. A cheerful voice spoke over images of humans in spacesuits, apparently having a wonderful time drilling holes in space rocks. Hi there, galactic neighbors. Welcome to Sol System Defense Network Mark 7. We have been working on this little project for about 3 years now. Hope you'll like it. 3 years. While the Galactic Council had been debating what to do about human expansion, the humans had been quietly turning their entire asteroid belt into the galaxy's largest weapons platform. Every single rock had been mined, hollowed out, equipped with engines, weapons, life support systems, and manufacturing facilities. Sir. The communications officer shouted over the sound of impact alarms. The humans are broadcasting construction footage. They appear to have been live streaming the entire project. On the view screen, cheerful humans waved at cameras while installing missile launchers inside asteroid caverns. Others were shown eating sandwiches while welding plasma cannons to rotating platforms. One particularly disturbing clip showed a human child's drawing labeled "My Daddy's Work," depicting stick figures putting big boom booms inside space rocks. They treated this like a hobby project. Draxel screamed, his voice cracking with hysteria. They have been documenting the construction of the galaxy's most sophisticated defense network like it was a recreational activity. The trap was complete. 10,000 ships were now surrounded by hundreds of weaponized asteroids, each one capable of independent movement and attack. The humans had not fled to the asteroid belt, they had lured the Crimson Armada into the galaxy's largest ambush. Captain Lisa Park's voice crackled across the human fleet channels from her command ship, the Defiant Probability. Her tone was casual, almost conversational, as if she were discussing weekend plans rather than coordinating the largest space battle in human history. All right, everyone, you know the drill. Time to show our new friends what human creativity looks like. Morrison, you ready with the paint job? Commander Jake Morrison's response came with barely contained laughter. Oh, we are more than ready, Captain. The boys have been mixing colors all morning. I think the aliens are going to love our artistic vision. Captain Vorthak listened to this exchange with growing horror. Paint? Were these humans discussing home decoration in the middle of a battle? What are they talking about? He demanded of his intelligence officer. His answer came in the form of Morrison's squadron launching what appeared to be balloons. Hundreds of colorful balloons drifted toward the alien fleet, looking for all the world like a child's birthday party had exploded in space. Sir, the tactical officer reported with confusion, They are launching. I do not even know what to call these objects. My systems classify them as non-threatening party supplies. The balloons struck the lead Nexari bio ships and burst, covering their organic hulls with bright, sticky paint. Within moments, the sophisticated alien vessels looked like they had been attacked by a kindergarten art class having a very bad day. It is just paint. Commander Yidex Ka snarled. What are they trying to accomplish? Her question was answered when the painted ships began reporting system failures. The paint was not just paint, it was specially formulated to interfere with bioship sensors, navigation systems, and communication arrays. Worse, it was designed to spread, creeping across hulls like a living thing and getting into every crack and crevice. Brilliant. Captain Park's voice continued cheerfully. Now let us try the household special. Team Alpha, deploy the kitchen arsenal. What happened next would be studied in military academies for centuries, assuming any of the alien commanders survived to report it. The humans began launching what could only be described as garbage. But this was not ordinary refuse. This was weaponized domestic waste elevated to an art form. Pressurized containers of expired soda burst against ship hulls, the acidic contents eating through hull plating with terrifying efficiency. Microwave ovens, modified with crude but effective explosive charges, detonated against shield generators and caused cascade failures throughout entire ship systems. Someone had apparently figured out how to turn kitchen blenders into electromagnetic pulse weapons. They are attacking us with appliances. Draxul screamed, watching a Krillian destroyer get disabled by what appeared to be a weaponized dishwasher. How is this possible? But the humans were just getting started. Captain Park's tactical genius became apparent as her fleet began executing maneuvers that defied every rule of space combat. Her ships moved erratically, unpredictably, like they were being piloted by caffeinated teenagers rather than trained military personnel. Which Vorthak was beginning to suspect might actually be the case. Tango Squadron, initiate Operation Lawn Sprinkler, Park commanded. Vorthak watched in fascination and growing dread as a group of human ships began spinning wildly while firing their weapons in all directions. It looked like complete chaos, like their pilots had lost control. But the pattern of fire was devastating the alien formations with surgical precision. They are using random probability algorithms. The Nexari fleet commander's voice shrieked over the communications. How do you defend against weapons fire that even the attacker does not know where it is going? The answer apparently was that you did not. The alien fleet's sophisticated combat computers, designed to predict and counter enemy tactics, were completely useless against an enemy that did not seem to have any tactics. The humans were improvising on a scale that defied belief. Sir, Lieutenant QX Lawn called out desperately. The human ship Caffeinated Chaos is approaching our port side at high speed. Destroy it, Vorthak ordered. We are trying, sir, but it keeps changing direction randomly. Our targeting computers cannot lock on. Through the view screen, Vorthak could see the human ship in question. It was painted in garish colors, covered with what appeared to be graffiti, and was broadcasting music that sounded like it was being played on instruments made from scrap metal. Worse, it was towing something behind it. What is that object they are pulling? He demanded. The answer came when the Caffeinated Chaos released its cargo directly into the path of a Bolthan heavy cruiser. It was a net. A fishing net, by all appearances, but one that had been modified with metal cables and electromagnetic anchors. The massive warship became entangled like a fish, its weapons unable to fire, its engines straining against the improvised trap. They turned fishing equipment into anti-starship weapons. Commander Yaxk's voice had reached a pitch that was causing the bridge speakers to emit feedback. Captain Park's laughter echoed across the battlefield. Oh, we are just getting warmed up. Henderson, deploy the ultimate weapon. With pleasure, Captain. Initiating Operation Annoying Sibling. What followed was perhaps the most psychologically devastating attack in the history of warfare. Human ships began following alien vessels at close range. mimicking their every movement while broadcasting an endless stream of questions. Why are you shooting at us? Are we there yet? What does this button do? Are you going to finish that? Can I have it? Why? 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 Several alien commanders were seen requesting immediate psychiatric evaluation. Make them stop. Admiral Kreenox's transmission was barely coherent. Whatever they want, give it to them. Just make them stop asking questions. But Captain Lisa Park was not done. Her masterstroke came when she ordered the deployment of what she casually referred to as the glitter bomb protocol. Modified cargo containers burst open throughout the alien fleet, releasing clouds of reflective particles that stuck to everything they touched. Within minutes, the entire Crimson Armada looked like they had been attacked by a craft store explosion. The particles interfered with sensors, clogged air filtration systems, and worst of all, were absolutely impossible to remove. Every movement spread them further. Every breath brought them deeper into ship systems. It is in my tentacles. Drax-Ul wailed. It is in my tentacles, and it will never come out. The tactical display on the Stellar Devastator told a story that would have been unbelievable just hours ago. Of the 10,000 ships that had entered the Sol system with such confidence, only 6 remained functional. 6. The rest were either drifting hulks, trapped in fishing nets, covered in paint, or spinning helplessly while their crews tried to remove glitter from critical systems. Captain Vorthak stared at the carnage with the expression of someone whose entire worldview had just been fed through a blender and served back to him with a garnish of human absurdity. "How?" he whispered. "How did we lose 9,994 ships to 2? Kitchen appliances and craft supplies, sir," Lieutenant QX Sloan finished weakly. The communications officer had developed a nervous twitch that made his eye stalks quiver uncontrollably. "This is Admiral Kreenox to all surviving vessels." The fleet commander's voice crackled with barely controlled hysteria. "Form up on my position. We need to retreat before they deploy whatever nightmare they have planned next." But the humans were not done with them yet. Oh no, they were celebrating. The communication channels suddenly filled with music that could only be described as triumphant noise. The humans were singing, if you could call it that, about being champions, about not stopping them now, and something called "We Will Rock You," that involved rhythmic stomping sounds that seemed to make the ship hulls resonate sympathetically. "Turn off the audio," Vorthak screamed. "I cannot think with that racket." But turning off the audio only made things worse, because now they could see the humans celebrating on the visual channels. Crews were dancing on their ship decks, waving flags made from what appeared to be underwear, and taking group photos with disabled alien vessels in the background. One particularly disturbing image showed a human crew member making what their database identified as bunny ears behind the head of an unconscious Nexari prisoner. "Sir?" the tactical officer reported with the tone of someone delivering news of a terminal illness. "The humans they are broadcasting more of those image messages." The main screen filled with pictures of small furry creatures again, but now they had captions like "Yukon has defeat and your fleet. Let me show you it. Oh wait, we broke it." A particularly infuriating one showed a feline creature wearing what appeared to be a military helmet with the text "Colonel Whiskers accepts your surrender." Are they mocking our military hierarchy with domesticated predators? Commander Yaix Ka asked, her voice cracking. Before anyone could answer, a new transmission began. Captain Lisa Park appeared on screen, still looking perfectly relaxed, despite having just orchestrated the destruction of the largest fleet in galactic history. Behind her, human crew members were visible doing something called a victory dance that involved movements that defied several species' understanding of anatomy. "Hey there, space friends," Park said cheerfully, waving at the camera. "Thanks for stopping by the Sol system. We hope you enjoyed your visit. As a parting gift, we have prepared a special presentation for you." The screen filled with more of those cursed moving pictures. Humans falling down, humans doing inexplicable things with vegetables, humans recording themselves experiencing minor injuries and apparently finding it hilarious. One showed a human child biting another human child's finger while screaming incomprehensibly, "What is wrong with these creatures?" Draxul moaned. Do they document everything? Do they find pain amusing? Are they a species of masochists? The final image was perhaps the most disturbing. It showed what appeared to be a human leader figure declaring mission accomplished while standing on what looked like a warship. The caption read, "Thanks Obama." I do not understand the reference, Vorthak muttered, but somehow I know we have been insulted. Admiral Kreenox's voice cut through the chaos with the authority of someone who had finally accepted reality. All ships, immediate retreat. Jump to hyperspace as soon as you are clear of the gravity well. We are leaving this system and never, ever coming back. The 6 surviving ships of the once mighty Crimson Armada began their desperate flight toward the edge of the system. Behind them, the humans continued their celebration, broadcasting terrible music and incomprehensible images to the retreating fleet. As they prepared to jump to hyperspace, one final transmission reached them. It was Captain Park again, still smiling that terrifying human smile. Come back anytime, she called out cheerfully. We will be here. Oh, and we are sending a little something to remember us by. The last thing the surviving aliens saw before jumping to hyperspace was a massive care package following their ships, clearly labeled Sol System Friendship Basket. 6 ships, 6 miserable, glitter-covered, paint-splattered ships limped into Zephyr Prime's orbital space 3 weeks later. What had once been the pride of galactic military might now look like refugees from a particularly chaotic children's birthday party. The stellar devastator itself bore scorch marks that spelled out humans were here in 17 different languages. Admiral Kreenox stood before the same High Council chamber where this nightmare had begun, but the confident military leader who had departed was gone. In his place stood a broken being whose eye stalks twitched uncontrollably every time someone mentioned the word cat. Explain, Counselor Thexara demanded, her tentacles coiled with barely restrained fury. Explain how the greatest military force in galactic history was defeated by a species that uses controlled explosions for transportation. Kreenox's voice came out as a broken whisper. They turned their garbage into weapons, their children's toys into instruments of war. They made us listen to something called Friday until 3 of my commanders requested euthanasia. The council chamber erupted in disbelief. General Kylex slammed his claw against his desk. This is impossible. What you describe violates every known principle of military science. Captain Vorthak stepped forward, still picking glitter from his mandibles. Honored Council, I present the tactical recordings as evidence. Though I warn you, watching them may cause permanent psychological damage. The recordings played in stunned silence. Alien warships being disabled by kitchen appliances. Military formations scattered by weaponized fishing equipment. The galaxy's finest warriors reduced to panic by children's craft supplies. When the footage reached the part where humans began singing victory songs, half the council members had to excuse themselves. This is not warfare, War Minister Kylex whispered. This is something else entirely. The humans, Kreenox continued, his voice hollow, have been classified under a new designation. Not Class 7. Not even Class 10. We have created an entirely new category. Do not engage ever. Seriously. We mean it. Stay away. The council sat in stunned silence until a courier burst through the chamber doors, clutching a delivery manifest. Urgent message from the Sol system. He gasped. The humans have sent an apology gift. Every being in the chamber turned to stare at a massive basket filled with colorful fruits, accompanied by a cheerful note, sorry about the misunderstanding. Hope we can be friends. P.S. The oranges are really good. Love, Earth. Admiral Kreenox looked at the innocent fruit basket and began laughing. It was not a pleasant sound. It was the laughter of someone whose sanity had been personally violated by human creativity. Do not touch it, he wheezed between hysterical giggles. Whatever you do, do not touch the fruit basket. They probably weaponized it somehow. And somewhere in the distance, across the vast reaches of space, humanity continued doing what humanity did best, being absolutely, utterly, incomprehensibly human.